Okay, let's start. Let me share my document. You were able to see my screen, right?
Yes, sir.
Before going to start the servlets, okay, uh, let me explain some more things. So till now we have discussed only core Java, right? Okay, with the core Java, what we can develop with the core Java?
Standalone application.
Yes, correct. Standalone application or window based or desktop based applications we can develop. Okay, so that means that whatever the standalone application or desktop application or window based application that will run only in single system, right or not? So my requirement is I want to access my application in the web, not on single machine. Anyone can should access my application. Okay, irrespective of in single system, my requirement was I want to access that application in the web. Okay, so in that case, with core Java, we can't develop such type of applications. Okay, so to achieve that requirement we should go to servlets. Okay, to develop any web application initially we are using of some CGI, okay, common gateway interface applications we are using, but there are a lot of dependency and those are dependent, lot of dependency is there with that. Okay, later sun microsystem, okay, sun microsystem, they have developed servlet specification. Okay, so based on servlets we can develop web applications. Okay, now let's start it. Now the application, there are two types of applications is there. One is window based application or standalone application, or we'll call it as a desktop based applications. Okay, the other one is web based applications. Till now we have seen window based application. Now we are going to see web based applications. What is web app? Okay, again, a application is called web application if it can be accessed using internet. Through internet, if you are able to access any application, then we'll call that as a web application, and it should be available 24 by 7 anytime. Okay, so most of our commercial application, Gmail, WhatsApp, or anything like Facebook, anything is like a, those are commercial based applications. Compulsory they will make it as a web applications. Okay, now how exactly we are going to develop web applications? Okay, what is the architecture of that? What exactly we need to develop for web application? Okay, first, now compulsory, if you are opening a Facebook or something, whatever it is, Instagram, whatever it is, compulsory we should log in, right? So after login, it is going to authenticate something and it is validating something and then it is giving some home page, right? Right or not, guys? Clear, right? No, so compulsory client, web client means we will call it as a browser. Okay, any Google Chrome or Firefox or Mozilla or whatever it is, we will call this as a, we'll call it as a, we'll call these browsers as web clients. Okay, we'll call this browser as web clients. Okay, what is web server? What exactly web server? What exactly it contains of web client? Okay, now let's see web client. So let's say, guys, if you want to log into some Facebook, in compulsory some browser is required or not, right? Some application compulsory is required. We'll call that as a web client. Anything that request is coming, okay, we'll call that as a web client. Okay, now it is also a software. Compulsory directly we will not get Chrome, right? Even for this also we need to install, right or not, guys? Are you able to hear me, right?
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
sir.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yes, sir.
even Chrome, Firefox, Mozilla, whatever it is, even default you will not get, right? Compulsory, we need to download the software and then we need to install. So we'll call them as web clients. It is a software. What is the use of that? It requests for the resources from where it will. So let's say assume I want to log into Facebook. I'm entering something and then I'm clicking on login button. Okay, it is requesting something to home page. by giving some details, right? So that's what it requests for the resources from server. From server, it is requesting for some resources. Everything will call it as some resource. Okay. Now, resource can be of anything: HTML or image or JavaScript or CSS or whatever it is. Okay. Even in future, we will call it as a JSP also. Okay. Now, even will call web client as http client also will call that. Web client also will call it as http client. What is the responsibilities of client? Okay, what is the responsibility of client means here browser. What is the responsibility of this client means once we are entering username and password, it is the responsibility of web client to read the data, to request the data from the form, and then it need to send to the server. Okay. Now, requesting server for connectivity, first part. Okay, it is responsibility of web client for requesting connectivity, that is the first part, and receiving the user input from web page. So this is one page, right? From this page, it should receive all the user input, whatever the user entered, username and password, whatever. It should receive that user input and forwarding it to the server. What is web server, that we'll see soon. Okay. If otherwise, if it is not sending that email and password, then how it will check that whether he is authorized user or who is that, that we should authenticate, right? So that will be done by client. Web client, it will read that input, it will forward that input to the server, web server. Okay. Now, after that, receiving HTML document from web server. Again, once it is giving that username and password to the server, it will process that. Okay, based on some logic, it will connect to the database by using JDBC, and then if it is a authorized user in the database is there means, then yes, he is successful. Validation is successful. It will open some home page. Okay, it will give some HTML document again. Okay, the client can understand only HTML, images, JavaScript only it can understood. Again, server will give the client resources in the form of HTML documents only. Okay, that is next part. After that, after receiving HTML documents from server, it will execute that HTML document. After that, it will render that output to the user. Okay, what it do, server is giving some HTML document to the web client. What web client will do, it will validate that HTML document, and then it will render that output. Okay, it will execute that HTML file, and it will display that output to the user. Okay, now we'll see that. Okay, practically. Now that is the responsibility of web client. Examples are Internet Explorer, Opera, Google Chrome, Mozilla, Firefox. These are all web clients. Okay. Now coming to the, is it clear guys what is web client? This is most usually common used terminology in future. Okay, in all the frameworks in Spring Boot, everywhere. Is it clear guys, this part?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Yeah, please respond guys. Okay, so if not understanding means, I will reply that time itself. I will reply. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Now next one, web server. Okay, what is web server? This is also a some kind of software. Okay, this is also some kind of software. So how exactly, what is the responsibility of web server? Okay, so the responsibility of web server is it should accept the request from the clients, web clients. It should accept the request from web clients. It may be Mozilla or Firefox or Internet Explorer or whatever it is. From anywhere the request is coming, it is the responsibility of web server to accept that request. Okay, even the same time you can get of multiple also. That server is responsible to accept that request and process the request, whoever is asking that client. Okay. Now, providing connection to the web client and receive the request from web client and deliver the requested resource to them. Okay, once it is username and password entered, then we will validate our from web server, and then it will say if valid credentials are provided, then we will return some home page information to client. He will validate that home page information, and then he will display that home page. Okay, now what is the example of a web server? What is the example of a web server is one of that is Tomcat. Okay, Tomcat, JBoss, Redis. Okay, and Undertow, Jetty. There are multiple web servers are there. Okay, out of that, one of that is Tomcat server. Okay, Tomcat is a web server, and there is a WebLogic, WebSphere. These will call it as a application servers. Those are not web servers. Those are application servers. Those are heavy load. Okay, so the Tomcat can bear only the lightweight applications, not very big applications. If you want to deploy very big applications, then WebLogic or WebSphere is the suitable servers. Okay, now let me see, is it recording is going on or not? Now next one is, okay, web client. Just now I told you web client, it is known as user agent. To send a request to the web server, a special software is required, which is nothing but web client. By using web client, we can communicate to the web server. Okay, more precisely I'm giving some information. And same way for web server also I have given. Once we developed web application, we required a software to run that application. Let's say we have developed an application. Okay, right or not? After that, you are expecting that should be available in the web, right? Okay, for that, some software is required, that is called web server. Okay, let's so yeah. So web server provides the environment to run the applications. Okay, the server will provide environment to run our web application. Okay, what is deployment and what is undeployment? These are the terminologies, guys. Okay, compulsory you should remember that. So anyhow, every day we will speak deployment and undeployment. Okay, so you will be familiar anyhow. So deployment means the process of placing web application inside server, will call it as a deployment. Okay, sometimes you might have heard like I'm part of in deployment today, so it is not possible to take the classes, right? That's what we are doing. We'll develop an application, we will deploy that application in the production servers. Okay, in some servers we are keeping. Okay, now undeployment, the process of removing web application from web server is called undeployment. Okay, now is it clear, guys, up to now?
Yes.
Yes,
Any
yes.
doubt in web server, web client, deployment, undeployment, anything? If,
Yes, sir.
if good means, then we'll go for types of web applications. Types of web applications. So informative web application are interactive or dynamic web applications. Informative web application means always it will give same type of content or static content. Then we'll call it as a informative or static web applications. Okay, there is no way we can't modify the add, modify, delete something, we can't do that. Okay, it is of static, always it will give static information. Now, what is interactive or dynamic web application means it is based on the user input. It will provide that content. It is based on the user input. It will give the response. Then we can say it is a dynamic web applications, right or not? Let's say if you are logging into the gmail.com, after login, there may be a chance of you'll get new emails, right? So the web page, the content is different. Every day you will not give same emails, right? So if you are getting some emails, emails means obviously it will give some new emails. That means that dynamically it is loading the content, the meaning of that. Okay. Is it clear, guys? What is informative or static web application? What is dynamic web application? Now we are going to see from static and some dynamic web applications soon. Okay. Now, again, web pages. Okay, let's say suppose there are two types of web pages: static web pages and dynamic web pages. Static web page means we'll use in informative web application. Dynamic web page will use in dynamic web application. Let's say for suppose. Let's say for suppose. If I'm giving any number of times, will it change anything the login page?
No, sir.
No,
Login page
sir.
will be same, right? So I can say it is a static page. Is it right or not? Right?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes, we
sir.
can say this is like a one static page. Okay. After login, it will give some home page, right? After Facebook login, it will give some information. Like some people may give up friend requests, right? So you'll get some people may post the images, or some people will give charts, some requests, all those things, right? That means that it is giving up some dynamic content after login. So I can say that as a dynamic web page, right or not? Right?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay. Now, types of web programming. Okay, types of web programming: client side programming and server side programming. Client side programming will call it as okay, client side web client is there, right? The client will understood only some limited types: html, javascript, css, or some different like even js also it can understood. Okay, python also it will understood, and angular js also it will understood, react also it will understood. Okay, so those will call it as a client side programming. Okay, and server side programming. Okay, server side programming I can say as CGA applications and .NET and PHP, Perl, Java. These I can say as server side programming. I can say as server side programs. I can develop server side program by using these technologies. Client side programming we can develop by using these technologies. Okay. Now, what is the responsibility of server side programming? What is the responsibility of server side programming? Already I showed you in the first time. Okay, right? In the web server. Now read it again. It should capture the user input from web client. It should capture the user input and process the user input and interact with the database. Okay, process the process the user input and interact with some database and do some validation. After that, send response back to client in the form of html, javascript, or css. Only in the form only we will send that response to the web client. Those only the web client can understood. Okay. Now, the next part is J to E. What is mean by still now we have seen J to SE, right? Java Standard Edition. Now we are going to see J to E means Java Enterprise Edition. Java Enterprise Edition. As part of this, we have servlets and JSP. And JSP means Java Server Pages. And we have one more EJB, Enterprise Java Beans. That no one is using. We can ignore that. Not required. Now, guys, one thing I need one clarification now from you guys. What is JDBC? JDBC is a API, right? Or some specification, correct or not? Right? JDBC
Yes,
is
sir.
Yes, sir.
some API or some specification. Who provided a implementation for that? Some vendors. Oracle is vendor, MySQL is vendor. They are the vendors or not? So they have provided implementation for JDBC API, right or not? So their API, whatever the developed one, that we are using their jar files in our application, correct or not? If we want to connect with Oracle database, we are using of Oracle some jar file, Oracle jar file, right? If you want to connect with MySQL, then we need to load MySQL jar file in our application. Is it correct or not? We have done right.
Yes, sir.
In the same way, in the Same way, servlet is also a specification. Servlet is also a specification by given by Sun Microsystem. Servlet is also a specification given by Sun Microsystem. Okay. Now it contains only the some content, but no classes and nothing. Right? Who provide the implementation? Okay. There Oracle, they are the vendors. In this case, web containers or web server people are provided implementation. Okay, or server people provided implementation for servlet specification to develop web applications. To develop web applications by using servlets, web container people provided implementation. Okay, now servlet specification provides interfaces. Okay, these interfaces are implemented by containers. Web container people provided implementation. One of that is Tomcat. Okay, Tomcat, Jetty, Undertow, these are provided implementation for this specification. They provided implementation, so we can use of any of the web server. Okay, inside that there might be some jar file which provide implementation for this servlet specification. Okay, now we'll see that where exactly they have provided implementation soon. Okay guys, now a servlet is a server side piece of code. A servlet is a server side piece of code that enhance the functionality of web server. It will read the input and then it will process that. Okay, it is the purpose of that servlet. Okay, it is a dynamic resource. Okay, and it makes web application is interactive. By using servlet, we can develop the application based on the user input. Okay, now it is a web component and it is a specialized Java class. Specialized Java class. Guys, the servlet is very important because in case of in future applications also, in future frameworks also, we are using the servlet names. Okay, this is the base. Even in case of Spring, we'll call it as a dispatcher servlet. In case of struts, we'll call it as a action servlet. Okay, in case of web services, we'll call it as a message dispatcher servlet. Okay, remember the servlet name is common. Okay, internally it will use of the servlets only. Okay, now a servlet provides a dynamic web page. Okay, now it contains of Java code as well as HTML code, both we can write in servlet. Okay, now what is web container? What is web container? Now let's say, I can say, sorry, let's say this is my server. This is my web server. Okay, now as part of web server, it contains of container. It contains web server container. Web server contains web container. Web server container, web container, web container, web container. As part of web container, again it contains of some many things will be there for us. For us, we have servlets. Okay, servlets. Okay, and we have JSPs also. We have JSP, right? To process servlets as part of inside container, we have servlets is there and JSPs is there. To process servlets or to execute servlets, there is something called servlet engine. There is something called servlet engine is responsible to execute servlets. Okay, JSP is for to execute JSP is JSP engine is separate is there again. That is the responsibility of executing JSPs. Okay, then JSP engine. Just assume. Okay. Now to execute, who is responsible of executing servlets?
Servlet engine.
Yes. Inside web container, it contains of a servlet engine as well as JSP engine. Okay. If any servlet is identified by the web container, it is the responsibility of servlet engine to process that servlet if any request is coming. Okay. If any request is coming to JSP, it is the responsibility of JSP engine to process that JSP. Okay. Now, next part is a server. Even web container is a software. It is written in Java. Okay, and according to servlets and JSP specification, it is based on JSP and servlet specification. They have provided that container. Now let's see. It is has three modules. One is HTTP service, servlet engine, and JSP engine. HTTP service is to process the request, HTTP request. Okay, we will use of this HTTP servlets, servlet engine to process that, JSP engine to process JSPs. Okay, now coming to software requirements is this is common. Tomcat is required and some Java software is compulsory required to install this, and because Tomcat server is depending on Java, so compulsory Java runtime environment is required to install Tomcat. Without that we can't. Okay. After that Eclipse is compulsory anyhow we are using. Now we are going to download and set up the Tomcat server. Okay. Now let's say for suppose, so guys, based on your Java version, you need to install Tomcat version. Okay. Today I struggle a lot for that somewhat. So actually I have Java 1.8, but I am trying to download and install of latest version of 10 point something. It is causing some issues. So I have installed Tomcat 9. It is suitable for Java 8 and above. Now let's go on to, if you want to download Tomcat software, Tomcat web server, just Tomcat download for this one. Now go for some softwares. Now out of this, come down. So this will give off directly the folders. Okay. So instead of that, I'm using of Windows Service Installer file. Okay. Download this one and then, so just click on that, it will download that. Already I have downloaded that one. So this is of I have installed just now, just 10:55 I have installed this one. Okay, so I have uninstalled and then installed again. So if you are installing this one, just double click on that. I have given instructions also. I have given instructions to install this. Okay, go to this one, double click on the setup file, Tomcat file, and click on next button. Okay, now let's show you next. This one, if not agree, I accept it. Click on agree and then select and then click on next. Here you need to change the port. By default, we may get 8080 port is maybe used by some other softwares. Okay, default. So instead of that, use some different port number. I have used of some 1234 some port number. Even you people can modify some port and then give only 4 digits, guys. Give only 4 digits only. Give some 1234 or 431, and then if you want to give username and password, give some username and password and then click on next. Okay, my service name is already exist. Okay, with the Tomcat 9 my service name is already exist. That is the reason it is not allowing, or else we need to modify that, or else yeah, see that, guys, it is already, the service name is already exist. That is the reason it is not allowing to install. If you modify something then 9.1 or something, then it will allow that, and then it will ask compulsory the Java JRE is required to execute Tomcat. Java virtual machine path. Okay, and it see that please select the path of Java 8 or later versions, later version of JRE. Okay, not below. If it is below means it will not support properly. Guys, please careful while installing this one. Okay, just next click on that and then finish it. Next, and then install. It will install that in this path, in this C drive, in this path it will install it. Okay, now let's once after clicking on install it will finish that. Now do you want to quit? Yes. Okay, now after that go to program files, Apache Software Foundation. It is the product of Apache. So go to Apache Software Foundation. This will automatically give that folder. Okay, and see that it is Tomcat 9.0. It is giving all these folders. It while installing it will come, while installation it will come. Is it clear, guys, up to installation?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
I have given the steps also. Okay, please follow the same steps. Okay, now servlet specifications are implemented by Tomcat. How can we see that? How can we see that whether these people are provided implementation for servlet API? Okay, we can find them in servlet-api jar file of from lib directory of Tomcat installation. Now let's go and see that Tomcat installation folder. Go to lib folder, and inside this there may be servlet-api jar and jsp-api.jar. Yeah, see that the servlet-api.jar. As part of this, it contains all the implementation classes of servlet API or servlet specification. Okay, is it clear, guys? Compulsory we need of this jar file to execute our servlet application or to run or to compile our application. Compulsory this API or servlet API jar file is compulsory required. Now let's go and see that next. Okay, what is the servlet life cycle phases? What is the life cycle of a servlet? What are all things it will execute internally whenever it is executing? Okay, so as part of servlet life cycle, it is not our responsibility to create object, to execute methods, all those things. It is the responsibility of web container. It is the responsibility of web container. It is not the our responsibility. It is the responsibility of web container to execute, to create the object for a servlet to init method execution, initialization, and execution of actions, action whatever that is the client is asking. All those things will be done by web container. Okay, now let's see. A servlet is a specialized Java class which implements or it is a public class which implements servlet interface. Compulsory internally it is provide implementation for servlet interface either directly or indirectly. That I will show you how exactly directly or indirectly means. Okay, for time being, just remember that. Okay, guys, yesterday I told you one thing. Truncate is not told, right? I told like I will tell you later. Just now I'm remembering that. Right? Do you remember, guys?
Yes,
Initially,
sir.
truncate I didn't told that. So I will tell you in the later stage, right? Now I got that point. I remembering by telling this point. So I will at the end of the this class I'll run that truncate use. Okay, don't fall. So now, so if you are using any servlet, if you are developing any servlet means compulsory internally it will implement directly or indirectly that servlet interface. Okay, now what are the methods of servlet? Okay, what are the life cycle methods of a servlet? It contains of some three life cycle methods and four life cycle stages. Four life cycle phases and three life cycle methods is there. What are those? Let's see. Life cycle methods of Life cycle methods of servlet is init method, service method, destroy method. When these methods will execute, that we'll see now. Okay. Now, four life cycle phases I told you, right? So in this four life cycle, these three methods will execute. Okay. Now let's see. In the first life cycle phase of servlet, first work done by the container is it will instantiate or it will create object for the servlet. It will create object for the servlet. That is the first part. Okay. And servlet container, who will create that object? Servlet container or web container internally. Servlet container will create object for that. Okay. And servlet container calls the default constructor to instantiate the servlet. Okay. How can you create the object of any class? By using constructor, right or not? If you don't have any constructor means defaultly compiler will give default constructor, right or not, guys? This is the basic one. If you are creating any class means if you don't have default constructor, then who's responsible to provide the default constructor?
Compiler.
Yes, at the time of JVM will provide that default constructor. That is the responsibility of JVM internally at the time of core Java application that we have seen, right? So even here, who will execute that one? It is the responsibility of container to execute that default constructor to instantiate the servlet. Okay, and default constructor should be public as it is called by the web container, which is outside of servlet class. Okay, it is calling this constructor from outside, right? Who is calling? Web container is calling to create the object, right or not? So compulsory it should be of public. Okay. The next one, instantiation phase. After initialization, sorry, after instantiation, initialization phase. Initialization phase. Initialization means if you want to load anything, okay, before going to start executing of your action, if you want to load up some data or something, you want to instantiate something you want to do, then that type of code will keep inside initialization method. Okay. Init is a life cycle method will be called by the container. Okay, it is the first life cycle method. Okay, if anything you want to load at the time of starting, then we need to keep inside initialization method. It will be called by only once. It will be called only once in the lifetime of a servlet. Okay, this init method will be called only once. Okay. Next one is servicing phase. Okay, actual service provider, actual service will be done by in this service phase. Okay, actual work will be done by in the servicing phase. Okay, and in this phase service lifecycle method, in this phase of service lifecycle method will be called by container. This is the every time whenever you are hitting any request multiple times, always this method will call. So init method will be called only the first time. Okay, inside at the time of initialization time. And next, the servicing method will be called by every time whenever you are hitting for request. Okay, next, this can be called any number of times. Okay, by servlet. And destruction phase, this is the destroy method. The last method is destroy method. This will be called by the, we'll call it as a destroy method or destruction phase method. This method will be called by the container or only once at the time of ending the servlet, at the time of deleting the servlet from the container. Okay, this also will be called by only once. Multiple times will be called only this service method whenever you are hitting multiple times for that request. Now we'll see through practically, guys. Now is it clear now? Now we'll see through practically what are the life cycle methods, guys, of a servlet. Life cycle method of a servlet.
init service destroy.
Okay. Yes, sir. Compulsory you need to remember init, service, and destroy. These are the life cycle method of a servlet. Now we will start the actual web application development. Okay. Now, my God, something. Okay, no problem. Close all. Now, so once you open Eclipse, close it. 1 second, guys. Let me find it. No issue. Let me delete it. No problem. So let me develop create how to create. Is it correct one that we have opened? GTE. Second, guys. Where it is there? Clips new. Is it clear, guys? Till now?
Yes, sir.
So I'm telling, guys. So compulsory. You people need to practice it, guys. Otherwise, directly if you want to do, then you can't. You'll get a lot of errors. Okay, I'm telling. Now, first what we will do is go to file, go to new. Now we are planning to create a dynamic web project. Okay, dynamic. Tomorrow I'll tell you through Maven. Okay, today I'm giving directly dynamic web application with Ant. Okay, now click on that. Give the web application name. Give the web application name. Give like some any project name. Servlet web application or select web application. Okay, now after that target runtime should be your to which server you want to going to deploy this application. Okay, that is the target runtime environment. So you need to select the whichever the server that is you want to you are installed, you need to select that. Okay, now Now, after that, this is of 3.1. Select the dynamic web module and then leave it about. Just use default configuration. This one and no need to do any other things. Click on next. Click on next. Here you need to select. This is the context root and this is the content of web content folder. It will create internally to store of all the htmls, web.xml, all the configuration files. And then it is, please check this checkbox. It will generate one file that is called web.xml. This is very important. Deployment descriptor, we call it as a deployment descriptor. All configurations we will add inside this web.xml. Okay, Now click on finish. Now let's wait for some time. Yeah, it is created the project. This is the structure. See that deployment descriptor. Most of our classes will write Java classes inside Java resources. Inside this we'll write it. If any static pages, HTML pages, any configuration, adding libraries, all those things we will add inside web content. Inside webinf libraries is there means lib folder we need to add. Okay, and the configuration file is web.xml file. We will call it as a deployment descriptor. I will most soon we will do all these configurations. Okay, just name it is, we'll call this web.xml file as deployment descriptor. Okay, now I'm opening web.xml file. Okay, now so this is default, it is giving some code, right? So welcome file list. Okay, whenever you are running your application in the server, defaultly out of anyone is file identified, then it will open that page defaultly. Let's say index.html is there, right? Let me write some code for this. Okay, now we need to write all our HTML codes inside web content, guys, not in the source. Okay, this is of right click on this new HTML, give that name and next, then click on finish. Let's give some message. Okay, welcome to some message. To web application, that is enough. Okay, now just I'm giving some message. Okay, now I didn't do anything, right guys? Just I have added only this application. Now if you directly running, you can application either by using run as server, or we can select the project. Okay, and go to run as, run on server, not like Java application. I want to run this project, okay, on server. Click on that. And which server you want to run? Choose the existing server. Already I have configured before. The target runtime is I have given Tomcat 9, right? It is came already. Okay. Choose the existing server and click on next. And then if it is this side is there means select that project and then add. Already it is moved to right side. The servlet web application. Click on finish. From the server. Open. Maybe server already it might be there. Some project. 1 second. Server. This is let me think. I've done some. Maybe already it might be there before. Content. Add that. Second guys. Yes, before it is not there, right? Okay, let me. Something is happening. Localhost config is missing in the remote projects. I think something is. Server Tomcat and is localhost is missing. Okay. Right. Configure the server. Okay, now run it. Yeah, the configuration is missing. Okay, that's what I'm telling, guys. It is bit careful whenever you are doing anything. Okay, now no issue, we can manage it, doesn't matter. Now we will start our new application. Okay, now leave it about this. Now start create a application new dynamic web project servlet web, web project. Next, which server it is? Oh, it is going off these many servers. Now let's see deployment descriptor and then click on finish. Let of new some HTML file. Finish it. Application. Save it and run it. Select on. Click on next. Click on finish. Now let's see. Yeah, now it is running, guys. Now let's see defaultly it is executed. So whatever there in the welcome file list, I didn't do anything, right? Just I run my application. So what is the default file? It is there. Remove all of them, not required for us. So we want only one file, welcome file. So whatever that we have code added inside this HTML, defaultly it will open with that content. Let's say if I am opening up something, let's say um, farm farm um, something, whatever it is, the name, login, whatever it is, user name, input type. This is HTML code, guys. There is no new thing in this one. Okay, just go through that W3 schools HTML. Okay, input type, name, and username, and I'm giving br for break. Next, password, next. I'm giving type is password, so it will come in the stars or something. Name, password, wd. I mean, I'm giving this one and br. Next is type type submit. I want to submit the action name login. Okay, login. So let's refresh it. Okay, after redeploy it, how to do means just click on this red icon. Okay, and guys, this is HTML code. Okay, maybe you people have aware of this web technologies or not, I'm not aware. Okay, please go through that, at least some minimum basics of HTMLs that I can't tell. So just go through some HTML code, whatever that is there. Okay, some basics. So what I'm doing is let me restart it. Defaultly this code will come and open the page. Okay, see that username, some text box, password, some text box. Okay, and I think value or what value, value. Okay, now so in this case this page is coming defaultly. Now I am doing some password, I am entering some password and something to 1 second guys.
Sir, can you increase the font size, sir?
Sorry, sorry. So you want to increase font size? Okay, font basic text font, make it 20, some 18. Okay, this is of HTML guys, that will not come. So instead of that let me, instead of opening that here, let me open that in the browser default in the Chrome. Let me do some default, it might be internal web browser. So internal Eclipse also contains the browser. Okay, so it is already by default, it is going to web browser, internal web browser it is going. So I'm choosing of Chrome. Okay, now the page directly it will open in the Chrome directly when you are running our project. Let me open. Yeah, now go on. See that it will open one Chrome page. Yeah, see that. So defaultly this page is opening. Whenever we are entering some username, okay, and some password, then click on this button. It is not doing any action. It is not doing any action. Okay, then we need to write servlets to perform action for this to take the username and password and perform do some logic. For that we need to use of servlets. That's where the servlet will come into the picture. Is it clear guys? Now we will write the servlet. This is just writing of HTML code. Okay, defaultly. Now what is my logic is, after entering username and password, I want to know that what is the username and password is entered by user and do some logic. Then in that case the servlets came into the picture. For that we need to write our servlet, own servlets. Then go to Java resources, control N, class, write some class. Okay, login or some login servlet or something. Okay, and click on give some package com.ibc, click on finish. Okay, this is our servlet we are creating. compulsory to get the servlet behavior. We need to extend some servlet. We need to extend some servlet, generic servlet, or to get off. Already I showed you somewhere. I think it is not somewhere. We need to use generic servlet or HTTP servlet. So this is not there. Where it is available means it is available in servlet-api.jar. Okay. So for that we need to go to the Tomcat installation directory. So it is my Tomcat installation directory. Go to inside Tomcat. Go to lib, take the servlet-api.jar, copy that, and then inside the project there is a folder called lib. Okay, inside web content webinf there is a folder lib. Paste it here. Paste inside that project. Then it will compile that. Now control shift. It is imported. It is there in the class path. Now control shift. Whoa. Now it will come generic. Generic servlet. See that generic servlet class came. It is imported from where? It is imported from some class. We need to provide implementation for this. If you are using this one, okay, if you are using http servlet, http servlet, then no need to provide any implementation, but inside this we have method called do get and do post. Okay, now for time being first we will check with generic servlet, and then we'll go for some http servlet. Just import the unimplemented methods. Okay, service method we need to provide implementation. So whatever that I have entered, whatever that I have entered in the form, in the index form, or let me change it to rename it to login. Login.html. I think it is a best name. Let me web project. Let me change it. Login.html. Now as part of this, okay, as part of our project, so when we need to execute this controller, whenever you are clicking on login button, whenever you are clicking on login button in the login.html, okay, I want to perform some action. What is the action? Slash some login. Okay, login action. Okay, login action. So this we need to configure this action in web.xml. Okay, this configuration we need to add in the web.xml by using servlet, by using servlet mapping and servlet config. Two things are there. Okay, those are default one that I will show you. Even those need not, no need to configure in the next project, because there is some annotations here. For example, first example I am telling with configuration. Is servlet. Okay, as part of servlet we have two things. Servlet name. Okay, we need to give some name. Okay, uh, login test. I'm giving some name to our servlet is login test. What is the class name? Servlet class name. Servlet we need to give com dot. What is that? Servlet whatever the servlet that we have created, that we need to give com.ibc with login servlet. com.ibc.login servlet. So whenever the container is identifying this servlet, okay, what URL it should execute? For that we need to mapping. We are doing of servlet mapping. Okay, inside this compulsory we need to use the same servlet. Okay, Whenever the servlet is identifying, it's execute of which URL. Okay. Now take the same servlet name here, and there is one more tag called URL pattern. URL pattern slash login. Okay, this must be same as like in the HTML is there, right? This should be match, otherwise it can't identify that. Okay, now close this. I have configured the servlet and servlet mapping. Okay, whenever anywhere is identifying the slash login, okay, then the servlet will come and defaultly this service method will execute. Okay, now we'll see. I told you, let me servlet request or eq or yes response. Now, whatever the data that is there in the HTML, whenever it is submitting client, it will come all the data to HTTP servlet to this one. Okay. Now dot get parameter. Okay, and we need to use the parameter whatever there, whatever in. We need to use the parameter whatever in here un. This we need to give whatever the user entered on the un field, it will get that value. Okay, and one more is pwd. Let me read it and let me store in user name. Next one is password pwd password. Okay, now after that we need to send back the response to the client. Compulsory we need to keep this information in response object. The data whatever there in the client, it will come through request object. Whatever the server is sending, we need to send through response object. Okay, there is a response second parameter. Through this we need to send response to response data get writer. Okay, in case of core Java, we have seen system.out.println is there, right? It is going to display the content, right? Here also get writer print writer object, this one is okay. Now let's, it will return print writer object. Through this to send the data to the client. Print ln of user name is username, password is. Now let's run it again. Now so guys, now the configuration what we did, I have created one servlet. This servlet mapping, when it should execute, means whenever we are hitting submitting button is happened, the action I have given here, right? So this action where we have configured means inside web.xml file. What is the web.xml file? It is URL pattern slash login is there. So what is the name of the servlet? Login test. It will check in all the web.xml file. Is there any servlet with contains of servlet name is login test? Then control F and control search. Then yes, there is one servlet tag which contains of servlet mapping with the login test. What is the servlet class inside that? It is of login servlet. Then it will go inside this login servlet and then it will execute of service method. Now let's see that. Restart the server. So my PC see. Test. See. So some error we got. Okay, we'll see. Error instantiating servlet IBC. Let me. There is some. 1 second. Somewhere in a configuration I missed. Class not found. Login test. Login test. Yeah, let me check it. Let me stop it. And web.xml login test. Change some name.
Login caps L, sir.
Where?
Login caps L.
This one we given in web.xml in here. Yeah. Let me see. If that is the case, it will.
L
No, it
L
is not. No,
uppercase.
no login. Where is the capital L? No, I have not given, right? It is small only. See, it is small L only.
Okay.
Now let's see. Stop the project. Now let's rerun it. Cannot server error, then expected project managers fulfilling the request. Where it is? I think some. ABC, ABC login servlet, class not found exception. So there's small thing somewhere it is missing something. Let me check. Login.html, login test. Let me let's change it to browser default. Maybe some cache issues. Slash login URL.
So I think display name is the wrong, sir. Servlet web
No, no, no.
project.
The name. Oh, no, ma. Let me select the project. No, let me run it. Location exception select login test. No test please. Okay guys, maybe I have some work other I need to go outside. Maybe tomorrow we can discuss it again. Maybe I will check it why it is not working. Okay. But I have tested it, maybe somewhere something will miss off a little bit. Some configuration. Oh, select project. resources. So I have tested this one, sample one. So something maybe no new things, no new. Okay, check. Yeah, tomorrow morning I can discuss this, guys. Okay, I'll share this document, but tomorrow I'll explain this one.
Okay,
I'll
sir.
I'll be back in 10 minutes, or we can check it, or else maybe we can discuss it on tomorrow. Okay, tomorrow morning at 9:30 I will take the class. Okay, so
Okay, sir.
tomorrow I'll take bit early. Okay, guys, maybe
Okay.
Yes, sir.
yeah,
Yes, sir.
yeah, tomorrow we'll do that. Thank you.